Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. It's August 26, 2020, and this is episode 716. Almost a month after the Canon EOS R5 hit the streets, and just in time for the R6 release, the Capture One team has released an update for Capture One Pro that adds native support for both of these cameras. And as you'll see, the image quality is a huge improvement over the DNG conversion workaround that many people have been using for the past month. So much so that I'd recommend anyone that was using that workflow to go back to their original RAW files and process them again to get the most out of this amazing new camera. I'm creating this podcast today, and although it will be a little on the short side, I want to get it out because the Canon RF 100 to 500mm f4.5 to 7.1 lens release has been brought forward by a month, and I'll be getting mine this Thursday, so tomorrow, on August 27, the day of release. And I will be trying to get out into the field to start to take this new lens through its paces so that I can report on my findings early next week. Anyhow, there is generally a bit of a lag between the release of a new camera and Capture One Pro providing full support for it. I've become accustomed to that, and although I would very much prefer it if the camera manufacturers would work better with Phase 1 to enable earlier releases, in the grand scheme of things, waiting 3 to 4 weeks for this support isn't such a big deal. And when the support is added, it just reinforces one of the main reasons that I'm a Capture One Pro user. The image quality is just so much better. It's sometimes only a subtle difference and not always obvious until you compare images, as we will today. The difference between Canon's digital photo professional and the DNG workaround images is so small that we'll consider it insignificant, and just work through the 4 images that I wanted to share with you in pairs so that you can open them up in the Lightbox, and we'll also try looking at them with before and after sliders. None of these images have any processing done to them, other than the standard raw sharpening applied to all images by default, so that you can see the baseline from which any further processing would begin. Note too that these images were shot on the day that I got the EOS R5. I parked myself on a bench near the camera shop for a few minutes to put in the battery that I'd charged and brought along and attach my strap, etc. And also quickly went through most of the important menu settings before having a quick walk around West Shinjuku to grab these shots. In all of these pairs of images, the DNG workaround processed image is on the left and the Capture One Pro processed image is on the right. So you'll have to go over to the blog at mbp.ac/716 to take a look at these images in pairs. And if you click on either of the pairs of images, then the Lightbox will open up and you can navigate back and forth with your arrow keys or by swiping if you're looking on an iPad. And the before and after images, you have to grab the vertical bar and move it left and right so that you can reveal the Capture One processed image and see less of the DNG converted image. However you look at the comparison, I'm sure you'll agree that the native Capture One Pro R5 support provides us with much better image quality than the converted DNG workflow produces. The blues are more natural and the building stands out much better than in the DNG image. It looks more like looking at the building rather than looking at a photograph of the building. The same goes for the next shot, the same building from a different angle. The Capture One Pro version is so much more vibrant and crisp, like I'm looking up at the building on the day, that I actually shot the image. The third set of images is looking down the staircase of the Cocoon building, and it's so much more dynamic. The texture of the metal is much more realistic. The DNG version is fine if that's all you look at, but when you compare the two, they are really worlds apart. And keep in mind that this is without any additional processing. I'd probably add a little clarity and perhaps play with the Luma tone curve some to enhance the image further. This final pair of images from the first day is just the sunlight streaming through the early summer tree foliage. But again, the difference between the two images is quite striking. You get a sense of the sunlight in the Capture One Pro version, but the DNG workaround shot is flat and lifeless in comparison. Again, I couldn't really tell in the original review. The images looked okay, but now they've come to life, and it makes me so happy that Capture One Pro has now been updated. Of course, how much of a difference you can see between these pairs of images will depend on your display. If you don't see much difference, try a different computer. A desktop computer will generally be better than a laptop display, for example. If you didn't already check out my EOS R5 review, you can see that at mbp.ac/714. Anyway, I have a few other things to do today, then I'm off to pick up my RF 100 to 500mm lens tomorrow, and we'll be out trying to get some photos that I can share with you hopefully early next week. Stay safe and sane in the meantime. Thanks very much for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please share a link with your friends. Subscribe in iTunes or your favorite podcast program to ensure uninterrupted delivery. If you have a moment to rate the podcast or leave us a review in iTunes, that helps to keep us relevant in the huge number of podcasts out there now. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, and links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back next week with that 100 to 500mm lens review, but in the meantime, you take care and have a great week, whatever you're doing. Bye bye.